Hi, I'm Toro, and this is the World in Series. Each episode in this series is a quiet journey through time, softly exploring the people, places, and events that shaped a single year in our shared history. So get comfortable, let your thoughts wander, and let's drift back to the world as it was. The world in 1913. Welcome, dear listener. Let the day's noise fall away. The clocks still tick, but softer now, and the shadows have lengthened into a gentle night. I'm Toro, and tonight we will travel, not by ship nor train, but by the quiet turning of thought, back to the year 1913. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine the air of a world more than a century ago. Carriage wheels clatter faintly over cobblestone streets. Gas lamps give off their warm, amber light, and somewhere a piano plays behind the tall windows of a city townhouse. In this time, news drifts slowly across oceans, and a letter may take weeks to arrive. There's no rush, only the steady rhythm of days. In 1913, the world was poised between the old century and the new, not yet swept into the great changes that waited ahead. We will wander through its streets, its fields, its parlors and marketplaces, as if leafing through a cherished old book. Page by page, and always gently. World events. In 1913, the stage of the world seemed vast and calm from a distance. Those subtle changes moved beneath the surface. In the United States, President Woodrow Wilson began his first year in office. His voice, carried by the slow crackle of telegraph reports and the careful ink of newspaper columns, spoke of reform, of balancing the energies of business with the welfare of the people. His administration introduced the Federal Reserve Act, designed to steady the nation's banking system, much like a lighthouse guiding ships in a fog. Across the Atlantic, in Britain, the Parliament bustled with debates in the stately Palace of Westminster, its Gothic towers watching over the Thames. The empire's vast territories required patient administration. Ships sailing to India, officials working in far-off colonial offices, correspondences sealed with wax. In the serene halls of Vienna and Berlin, diplomats met for careful conversation. Europe's great powers, Britain, France, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Germany, maintained their alliances and rivalries like a delicate balance of porcelain teacups on a shelf. In public, there was a polite confidence that peace could last. In China, the young republic was still finding its footing after the fall of the Qing dynasty just 2 years earlier. Yuan Shikai served as president, navigating the competing visions of reformers, traditionalists, and regional leaders. The countryside, meanwhile, continued its timeless rhythms, planting, harvesting, family life, often far removed from the debates of politicians. The Balkan Peninsula, with its winding rivers and ancient towns, was still absorbing the changes of the Balkan Wars. The Treaty of London had shifted borders, but in many villages life carried on much as it had for centuries. Market days, church bells, and the passing of seasons. Elsewhere, the Panama Canal, a monumental engineering feat, neared completion under U.S. guidance. Workers carved through jungle and rock, linking oceans in a way that would forever change global trade. It was a slow, steady labor, with the sound of shovels, engines, and the hum of insects under the tropical sun. And above all of this, the new art of aviation continued to capture the imagination. French aviator Roland Garros crossed the Mediterranean Sea in a small monoplane, a feat that seemed almost like magic, as if man had borrowed the wings of birds for an afternoon. Daily life around the world. Daily life in 1913 was a tapestry of countless threads, each woven from the materials of its place and time. In London, the morning began with the hiss of steam from the first trains, and the clip of polished boots on pavement. Markets offered everything from fresh-cut flowers to jars of preserves. Streetcars rolled steadily along their rails, bells chiming to announce their stops. At night, the glow of electric street lamps mingled with the softer pools of light from older gas lanterns, giving the city a gentle mix of past and present. In Paris, café tables spilled onto the boulevards, their white cloths fluttering faintly in the breeze. Waiters in pressed black waistcoats balanced trays of coffee, wine, and delicate pastries. The scent of fresh baguettes drifted from the bakeries each dawn, blending with the faint perfume of horse-drawn carriages passing along the avenues. In the countryside of America, winter mornings were often quiet, except for the soft crunch of snow under boots or the lowing of cattle. Homes were heated with wood stoves, and breakfast might be porridge, eggs, or bread spread with butter churned on the farm. Children walked to school along unpaved roads, their breath puffing in little clouds. In Japan, Tokyo was a city of contrasts. The wooden latticework of old tea houses standing near the new steel of modern buildings. Merchants called out their wares in narrow streets, while electric trams hummed along wider avenues. Women in silk kimonos with intricate obi sashes passed men in Western-style suits, each moving with purpose through the busy city. In the Russian Empire, sleigh bells rang softly over snow-packed lanes in winter. In warmer months, fields of rye and wheat waved in the wind. In village homes, the samovar was always ready, its polished surface glowing in the lamplight as tea was poured into glasses held in silver holders. In Africa's cities, Cairo, Lagos, Cape Town, the days were filled with the rhythm of markets. Traders arranged pyramids of oranges, stacks of woven cloth, and heaps of fragrant spices. Colonial buildings cast long shadows over bustling streets, where voices in many languages mingled in the warm air. Wherever one lived, the essence of life was familiar. The morning's first light, the satisfaction of a good meal, the comfort of returning home at the end of the day. Science, inventions, and technology. The quiet wonder of progress in 1913 often unfolded far from the public eye, in workshops with wooden benches, in laboratories smelling faintly of ink, oil, or chemicals. In Detroit, Henry Ford refined the moving assembly line, a system that allowed each worker to focus on one task as the automobile passed steadily along. This meant a car could be built more quickly and for a lower price. The Model T became an increasingly familiar sight, its modest engine chugging patiently, carrying families or goods from place to place. In Germany, Fritz Kleit's work on vinyl chloride opened the door to new materials that would shape manufacturing for decades. Across Europe, scientists delved deeper into the structure of the atom, imagining worlds too small for the naked eye. The telephone was becoming more common in business and in some homes. Switchboard operators, often women with nimble hands and clear voices, connected calls by inserting and removing plugs on large boards. Voices traveled across miles of wire, still a marvel to those who remembered the world before it. In aviation, each season brought a new milestone. Roland Garros's flight across the Mediterranean inspired others to attempt long-distance journeys. Small biplanes buzzed over fields and cities, their fabric wings trembling in the wind. To many on the ground, it felt as though the age of the sky was quietly beginning. Even household technology moved forward. Electric irons, more reliable sewing machines, and improved cameras made their way into homes. These were not yet mass possessions, but each innovation carried a quiet promise that life could be made a little more comfortable, a little more connected. Culture and the arts. The arts in 1913 were a garden in bloom, with both familiar flowers and unexpected new shapes. In Paris, the ballets Russes continued to enchant audiences. Their costumes shimmered under the stage lights, and the dancers' movements told stories without a single word. Igor Stravinsky's music carried an energy that was both strange and beautiful, lingering in the mind long after the final note. Literature offered its own quiet journeys. D.H. Lawrence published Sons and Lovers, a novel rich with the textures of working-class life. In Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore's poetry crossed oceans, its gentle rhythms and profound simplicity bringing him worldwide admiration. In the concert halls of Vienna, orchestras performed the works of Brahms, Beethoven, and newer composers who bent the old rules into something modern. In drawing rooms, families gathered around pianos, leafing through well-worn sheet music to play in evenings entertainment themselves. The silent cinema continued to grow in ambition. Filmmakers experimented with longer stories and more elaborate sets. Newsreels, short films shown before features, brought moving images of faraway events. A parade in London, a ship's departure from New York, a harvest in Italy. Painters, too, walked between tradition and change. In galleries, one might see the soft, dreamlike strokes of Impressionism alongside the bold geometry of Cubism. Viewers sometimes debated which was truly art, yet both spoke to the restless creativity of the age. Media and headlines. The news of 1913 moved at a pace that allowed for reflection. A morning paper was read slowly, over tea in England, coffee in France, or a simple breakfast in America. Headlines reported on new laws, royal visits, discoveries, and journeys. Magazines such as the Illustrated London News, The Strand, and National Geographic offered readers a richer feast with illustrations, engravings, and photographs from distant lands. A photograph of the Panama Canal's progress could sit alongside a short story by a beloved author. Advertisements invited readers to consider a fine fountain pen, a sturdy bicycle, or a wool coat guaranteed to last. Prices were modest by modern standards. A loaf of bread might be 6 cents in the United States, a daily newspaper perhaps 2. People born and died. In February 1913, Rosa Parks was born in Tuskegee, Alabama. Decades later, her quiet courage would help change the course of history. In November, in the small town of Mondovi, Algeria, Albert Camus entered the world, a writer who would one day explore questions of meaning and existence with delicate precision. The year also brought farewells. Harriet Tubman, who had guided so many to freedom through the Underground Railroad, passed away in March. Her life had been one of steadfast bravery, carried with dignity to the end. That same year, financier J.P. Morgan died in Rome, his influence on industry and banking having shaped an era. These arrivals and departures, like the changing seasons, were part of the ongoing story of humanity. As 1913 drew to its close, the world exhaled the year's final breath. In the northern lands, frost painted window panes with delicate patterns. Fires crackled in hearths, and the warm smell of baking bread mingled with the sharp scent of pine. Children pressed their noses to shop windows to see holiday displays. In the southern hemisphere, the days were long and golden. Warm winds swept through fields, and the sea glittered beneath the sun. Families gathered outdoors in the shade, sharing cool drinks and conversation. The year had been, in many ways, a gentle one. Though changes stirred in politics, science, and art, the sense of daily continuity held firm. The newspapers of late December carried stories of new rail lines, good harvests, and the latest books to appear in shops. No one knew what 1914 would bring, but that is the nature of life, to live in the present, to hope for the next day, to believe that the familiar will endure. And so the bells of New Year's Eve rang in towns and cities, calling people to step forward together into the unknown. Thank you for wandering with me through the soft streets and quiet rooms of 1913. If you found comfort here tonight, There are many more years waiting to be visited, each with its own gentle rhythms. Until next time, may your dreams be peaceful, your rest deep, and your heart light. Good night from Toro's History Lullabies.